Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So today we're going to be looking at some pretty interesting stuff coming out of a sort of collaboration between various people like Asmongold, Legal Mindset, and other content creators. I'm sure an effective measure to deal with some of the violent rhetoric that has plagued social media. Now, of course, this is in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination, and I know you guys are probably seeing a lot of heavy topics from me on this channel recently, but I think what we're talking about here is really important, and it also affects areas we care about like content creators as well as the gaming industry, which we'll see once again today. So as I'm sure you're aware, after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, there was a massive amount of posts celebrating his death, but even going further and making additional calls for political violence and making direct threats in some cases. And today we're starting to really see the finding out stage where apparently, yeah, you can't make violent threats on social media and not suffer, whether it's at your job or legally. And a lot of people are finding out over the past day or two. Now, we've seen a lot of posts, but this is just one I saw today. Like, this is just a rant. This is one of thousands, okay? Just to give you a taste. Just so you're very clear, this is not like, oh, they're saying some mean things about Charlie. No. This is what they're saying.
I watched like a 60-second, 60-minute, whatever. Y'all know what I mean. 1 minute edit of like the things he said, and they're like so atrocious that like his wife deserves to go too. Y'all keep on talking about his wife and kids. They need to go too because they're carrying on that mentality and that lineage. Like, get rid of the whole family. I'm so sorry. Why did you guys stop with him? Why did you stop with him? Go get his grandma. Because who raised you? Like, your mom ought to be ashamed for breathing scum like you. Get rid of the whole family. Like, y'all too scary. Y'all too scary for revolution. Y'all too scary for progress. Like, y'all want results without putting in the work. You gonna have to take out trash to get a clean house.
An absolute ghoul. Literally calling for more rounds of violence and wanting to essentially wipe out his entire bloodline, including his 2 young children, who I believe are between around 1 and 5 years old. These are the people making these threats. They are completely unhinged, doing it with their face showing for the world. They are proud of what they're saying because they don't believe they're going to face any consequences, and that's been nailed into their head for years because stuff like this is never punished. And this is the account of the person we just saw. It appears they deleted their video. Now they're trying to hide, but I have a good feeling they're going to be joining the unemployment line with several other hundred of their fellow Americans, because there are actual trackers right now reporting nearly 1,000 people have lost their jobs from either celebrating the assassination or even making threats or additional calls to violence. And yeah, this is the finding out stage. You can't make violent threats against people and think you're going to just get away with it. And this has actually been pretty easy. We're going to show you some other tools from Legal Mindset later in this video that'll make things even easier to report some of this stuff. But this isn't like the stereotype of the guy with like extreme views from a decade or 2 ago where they're anonymous and on a random message board talking to like 3 people. No, the people doing this with Charlie Kirk, they're on Reddit, they're on TikTok, they're on Twitch, they're on Twitter. They are on mainstream platforms saying this stuff openly and getting praise and support for it. And the reason this is so easy is because a lot of these lunatics, they're posting on accounts that have their face and even their government name. So of course, people are going to find out where they work or what they do and contact their employers or contact law enforcement. And even we have examples of people posting from their work-related accounts. They're making threats in their work capacity, and they're shocked that it has consequences. That's how bad things have gotten. I've heard a bunch of disingenuous excuses for all of this. People are like, oh, so now we love cancel culture? First of all, those people saying that, they would have gladly celebrated a couple years ago where people were getting their jobs taken away, deplatformed, having their lives ruined for saying something like there's 2 genders. And now you have people who embrace that system now crying when it's used against them when they're making calls to violence. I mean, this is the system you created. And another thing I'm seeing is people talking about the First Amendment. They're like, oh, what happened to the First Amendment? I thought this was America. Well, it doesn't protect violent threats, and it never did. And a good example of people misunderstanding this comes from the Clemson University situation, where they made this statement and said they're going to take appropriate action for speech that constitutes a genuine threat, which is not protected by the Constitution of the United States. And whether they follow through on this or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I've seen at least 3 professors from this university either celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination or make further calls for political violence. These are the people teaching the youth. That should alarm you greatly. Now, of course, we have Tim Sweeney here, another person from the industry. In fact, they are the CEO and founder of Epic Games. So a pretty big deal. He says this in response to that previous post. What amendment says you can't diss someone? Not seeing it here with a screenshot of the First Amendment. First of all, he is greatly misunderstanding what we're talking about here. We're not talking about people saying, oh, Charlie Kirk, he was a big meanie. No, they're celebrating his assassination and going further and making additional calls for political violence. Okay, that is not protected free speech under the First Amendment. It never has been. It never will be. You can't threaten people. This should be very obvious, but people who have always hated the First Amendment are now pretending to care about the First Amendment because it protects lunatics making these violent threats. And it's very transparent. And clearly Tim Sweeney does not understand the gravity of the situation or the First Amendment because he's messing up everything here, and it's just a really terrible look. Now, this is related to a lot of things that are going on in the gaming industry that involve one way or another this current situation. And Asmongold has made it his little mission here to make a series of videos talking about people from various industries, including the gaming industry, and wants to hold them accountable and shine a light on them and give people some recommendations of what to do if you see this.
One of these companies and you have a person like this doing it, make sure to talk to HR and let them know how uncomfortable you feel that there's a person who's working at your company who might want to advocate to have you killed because you disagree with them. Tell them that it makes you afraid to come into work. Tell them that, you don't know, maybe you're going to file a lawsuit. You feel unsafe at your workplace. And honestly, here's the important thing. You should feel unsafe, because these people would justify violence against anybody who disagrees with them. And just because you think you know them doesn't mean they wouldn't do the exact same thing to you. And this is them. This is the game that they're making right here. And you can see that they've made no statement about this. Now, let me ask you a very simple question. If these people made a degrading comment towards the trans community, for example, or towards the black community, for example, do you think Sucker Punch would have immediately fired them and made a statement? I think so, absolutely. But for some reason, these people are protected. And the reason why they're protected is because there's a lot of other ones at the company that feel the exact same way that they do. That's the only logical reason that I have. And I think that at a certain point, Sony or somebody needs to step in. Whoever owns this company needs to step in and root out this disease before it kills the entire company, because I do think that it will have a tremendously negative effect on the game.
So like I said, this is episode 1. He's going to be making a long series of videos about this. And he says, I will continue to do this until they are all gone or the companies that protect them have their reputations destroyed beyond repair. Keep joining the Twitter community. Keep sharing the posts. It's working even faster than I anticipated. And he also mentioned in there, talk to HR, human resources. And we're going to see in just a second what the better option is according to Legal Mindset. But the reason HR is a shaky option to use if you see a coworker doing this or something like that is because, well, there's no anonymity. You might be retaliated against. And the company has every incentive to try to bury whatever you're reporting for their own interest. And also, you don't know who you're dealing with at HR. You don't know the people working it. They might be just as crazy as the people you are reporting. But of course, like I said, we have a better option shared by Legal Mindset here. He's giving an enhancement to Asmongold's plan, and he says that is OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which is a federal agency with with power to do something about this stuff. A report from them is a big deal for a company. They have to deal with it. And what they do is they, as an organization, they are there to ensure that employers are providing their employees with a safe work environment. And people reporting to this organization about these violent threats, yeah, they might be getting somewhere. So let's listen to some of the benefits of these OSHA complaints.
It's anonymous, so you will not be retaliated against. Human resources cannot bury it because this is a government thing. It's going to come through the government regulatory body. They're going to know they got an OSHA complaint. They cannot hide that. And trust me when I tell you, as a corporate attorney, the CEO, the C-suite people, the management people, they will notice when OSHA complaints start coming in because there are legal penalties for non-compliance. Also, there's no cost of a lawsuit. Now, we're going to talk about the lawsuits a little bit more, but you could sue for having a not safe workplace, but that costs a lot of money. And most regular Americans are just struggling to make ends meet, to pay for things. Things are getting more expensive, inflation. You don't have to sue. You can go online and submit it for free. You can call. You can go in person. You can fax it if you even have a fax. There's many places to do it for almost nothing. And the law is very clear regarding safety risks. They need to be investigated. They need to be looked at. This is something they are going to need to take action on. Even if they ultimately don't fire the person, at least they were investigated and at least they know it's an issue. And now they're going to pay attention to their online behavior and the online behavior of the employees. Corporate America has been sleeping on the online behavior of its employees, and now it's time to wake up. Now it is a genuine time to wake up and say, we are going to pay attention to what people are doing online and make sure that they are behaving online.
So not only does this look like a very effective measure for dealing with wackadoos making violent threats online who might be your coworkers, whether it's in the gaming industry or at regular retail locations or offices, what have you, it's really effective, but also it's very appropriate. This is exactly why this system exists in the first place. It's about safety. You shouldn't have to live your life and your work life in fear because you're stuck with lunatics who are unhinged and posting things you're seeing online about threatening people or making calls to violence. Imagine a scenario where your coworker is saying violent threats and encouraging violence against people who either share beliefs with Charlie Kirk or even go out there and condemn political violence. People like that have been targeted as well for simply condemning what happened. Imagine if that's your coworker and you have any of those beliefs that they're making threats over. How would you feel safe at your job? Why would you have to put up with someone who clearly is unhinged, unwell, and needs to be investigated? Because that is the step here. This will lead to a possible investigation because if someone is saying this sort of rhetoric, obviously they need to be investigated. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is an unhinged person, and we've seen it happen over and over again, and we don't want to see more stuff translate into real life violence as a result of these calls for additional political violence. And it appears that Asmongold is aware of this latest recommendation from Legal Mindset, and he said it's great insight, and he didn't know how strong some of these systems were, and he's going to incorporate this into future videos, which obviously with his massive pull as a content creator, this is a really good step because what we're seeing, what we're witnessing, there is no consequences for any of these actions, these people who are breaking the law and trying to instill fear on people because they are unhinged. There's got to be something done about it, and it sounds like there is a very good legal way of doing this with these OSHA complaints that can protect people from those who clearly need to have people protected from them. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. I'll put a link to his video as well as the OSHA link. You can see right here. I'll put those in the description if you want to check them out. And yeah, that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.